One day I hope to uh, beat the performative male allegations, but that day is not today. But that is besides the point. Peculiar lighting setup. You wouldn't believe how long this took. It looks like just a candle, but I had to put some absolute buffoonery upon the light bulb behind me so it doesn't reflect the way I don't want it to. The notebook is back out. We don't have any notes. We have two things written down, and it's in like a half kind of page thing. But we're gonna see if we can talk about it. We're gonna see if we can kind of make something out of nothing. All right, but we're still talking about Odysseus because I just finished the book. As you can see, you can't really see because it's blinding light. But anyway, no more bookmark in the Odyssey book. Pretty good book. Too long, too damn long, but pretty good book. Anyway, I had this question, and towards the end of the book, it's less like important because he's back home and he's doing a bunch of nonsense. But specifically on the island of, again, I finished the book. You'd think I know what any of the names are, but on whatever island Calypso's on, right? The island of Calypso, I'm calling it. Why didn't he walk into the sea? Like it's been 9 years. I mean, you're not getting back home. Is what I would probably say if I was Odysseus. I'm like, all right. Well, I mean, I guess you may say that he had Calypso, but he didn't like Calypso. It's punishment for spending a year at that other pig witch lady's house. He has to spend a long time here with this random lady he doesn't want to be with. But he's like, I don't know. Maybe the reason Odysseus didn't walk into the sea is that the comfort he had wasn't the comfort he wanted. It wasn't preferable to him. He would like to be home with Penelope. But it was just comfortable enough. There's this, I guess it was a theory or idea or whatever I heard one time, and it was someone saying your life would be better if it was harder because it would motivate you to get out of your current predicament. There's a big problem of comfortability, if that's a real word. Life is just comfortable enough to where you don't want to do anything. You can be an absolute loser. You can either not work a job at all and have the government or your parents, whatever, pay for you, or work a job you hate. And you can be poor, you can live in squalor, you can have a disgusting place of living, unhealthy, but you can still participate in the local, like the talk going on. That's another thing. There's no like the whatever story we've been telling ourselves throughout human history, the story of people kind of ended recently with the postmodernist movement, where everything is we're so critical of what's going on. The story's over. There's no continuity. You know what I mean? Your parents divorced when you were young, so the marriage doesn't have any continuity. And then everything you're currently doing is it's like you're looking at a corpse. You know what I mean? I don't mean to get too emo. You know what I mean? But like you're not looking at a living thing. All these texts except for that one is dead. Pretty much, they're all dead. The person that wrote them's dead. It doesn't matter. Like you're like a medieval citizen walking through the streets of Rome after it fell. You couldn't possibly hope to rebuild this stuff, and you can no longer live in it. You can't reap the benefits of this at society, and you're just looking at how cool it used to be, right? Most people, maybe this is a Gen Z thing, you're not even nostalgic for your childhood, right? And of course, that's not necessarily true. Maybe it's more of this is a carryover from the millennials, maybe. But especially with the millennials, their nostalgia isn't their childhood necessarily, even though they're still living out their childhood with the Harry Potter freaks. But they were shown the idea of nostalgia being that of the boomers, nostalgia of the 50s and stuff, and the 60s. Where was I going with that? All that to say, it seems it's just comfortable enough that you can pretend like nothing's wrong, even though it's absolutely wrong. So the theory is that if your life was worse, you'd want to change it, and yada yada. which may be true, may not be true. Maybe it's case by case basis. I don't know. I can't speak whether if, like, I can't even, like, what if my life was easier? What if it was harder? I don't know, because it is the way it is. Neither too hard nor too easy, right? But the question of Odysseus, why didn't he walk into the sea? Well, it was just comfortable enough with Calypso. It was just okay enough. You know what I mean? He wasn't going home, but he's not back in the Cyclops' cage. So, not that bad. Might as well not, do it. And I've written in this notebook over here that's on the thing in front of me. Was it all wasted? Was it wasted? And I meant that in a kind of bigger sense, like life. One time I was complaining about, I don't know, I was saying some email like I just got done saying. And a woman that was the similar age to me, a little bit older, she was, I don't know, how many years older than me, was like, dude, your insert age, which I'm not going to put in here because I value my privacy, even though I'm obviously showing my face, and 1/3 of my real name. And I was thinking about that. There is a lot of time left, allegedly, but that is even not even guaranteed. You could die today. You could die anytime. So we must look at the life that we lived and constantly be asking, maybe we shouldn't, but at least it is the common, what we do as people, to ask ourselves, was it wasted? Was that hour wasted? Did I waste that minute on something stupid? And of course, with doom scrolling and stuff, you're pretty safe in saying, yeah, it was wasted. But I mean, the things we do, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but there's some awards right here that I've gotten. There's some awards over there, some awards. Most of my awards I give other people that care more about them, because it doesn't really mean anything to me. But was that time wasted? Did it matter? Did any of it matter? I'm of two minds about it. The cynical part of a man says, no, it didn't matter, because the life you're currently living, the active moment you're living in, is not that time. So what you should have been doing with that time is building something that you can currently be enjoying, that may have been true. But the more human side, the more sympathetic side, the better side, maybe, the John Paul II side, elite ball knowledge. John Paul, of course, he saw Christ in everyone. There's a famous story of him going into the cell of a man that murdered his wife, and he sat next to him and he said, I've never been married, but if I was married, I could have killed my wife too, which is really funny. But obviously it was a human thing, you know what I mean? John Paul saw Jesus in everyone. I'm not the John Paul expert, I'm just quoting some Philip Sheen thing I saw. But the part of me that wants to see that is like, well, you did what you could do with the time you had, and it made you the person you are right now. And the person you are is not complete. Who can claim until death that they are a complete person? You know what I mean? Who can claim till the book has been closed that it was good or bad? Odyssey, for example, all these books, except for that one, those two technically, have good and bad chapters. Some of them are slow, but you need them to build, especially Lord of the Rings that I keep over there, because they're paperbacks, so they were cheaper, and I'm not keeping them here because these are my hardcovers. There's chapters in it, and there's not really a boring chapter in a lot of them, in my opinion, but the chapters slow down, especially in like Rivendell and stuff like that, to kind of create a vibe, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the context of how good Rivendell was, you can't then sympathize with the characters about how bad the mountain is, you know what I mean? I keep saying it, you know what I mean? I don't really mean to say that, you know what I mean? But it all builds on context. I think it is not narcissistic and it's not stupid to see your life as a story. It may not be intellectually correct, but that's stupid. The intellectuals are all depressed and lame. Look at Nietzsche. I wouldn't trust that guy. He's weird. But maybe not him specifically, but and this with the postmodern thing, they don't want to see life as a book. And they don't want to see death as the book being closed. They don't even want to look at death, but that's besides the point. So the slow chapters, the chapters of your life that aren't as exciting, that aren't as productive, maybe aren't as may not be the best read. If you were reading your book, maybe you'd want to. Maybe you're skimming through this chapter. I was doing that towards the end of the Odyssey. It wouldn't shut up. I had to. But the slow chapters build the context for the more interesting, quote unquote, and the more developing and the more productive chapters. You get what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. Look, we managed to slightly make a cohesive thing out of just two words written in an old notebook. So the slow chapters. Who knows when the slow chapter's supposed to come? But what I do know is you may try to work your way around them, but sometimes it's just slow. Sometimes work is slow. Sometimes it just slows down a little bit, and not in the way you may want. Like, it's not an autumn evening, smoking a pipe on the porch, listening to the birds, kind of slow. It's more like Apocalypse Now in your room, just doing kung fu, right? Kind of slow. But you need to slow down, obviously. I think you know that. I think everyone knows you need to slow down, especially in this world. But sometimes you are imposed times of rest that you'd rather be moving. It's the way it is. Don't hate the chapters of your life. They're being written for a reason. I don't mean to get too preachy or corny or anything like that. I despise that. I filmed the whole video, but I didn't like it because it was corny. So throwing that away doesn't matter. Enjoy the slow chapters. That's what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to reassure you and reassure myself more precisely of. Enjoy the slow chapters, or at least endure them and understand that they're there to provide the context for the next one.